Hello and welcome to my first furniture flip. About a year ago, I picked up this antique dresser and managed to carry it up many flights of stairs because I had a vision. I wanted to refurbish furniture for a long time and thought since this was practically free, why not choose the biggest piece of furniture that I could find for my first project. So I started by sanding with an 80 grit sandpaper. I used a Bauer hand sander that I found at a local hardware store for around $30. I definitely recommend starting out with the cheaper equipment going into something like this because it gets the job done, and at the time I didn't know if I would be flipping furniture or not in the future. I would like to point out that I had to cut out all of the cardboard dividers inside the dresser because it was completely saturated in filth from the previous owners. I replaced those plastic boards I found at Michael's for under $6 a board, and I fully replaced one of the bottom drawers because it was split in half. I didn't notice how poorly this dresser had been kept until I brought it home. The top middle drawer had been broken down the middle, which the previous owners notably tried to fix with wood glue. I had to buy a staple gun because all of the old staples were rusted and falling out. In short, the teal color definitely disguised many of the underlying problems. I also had to saturate the drawers with vinegar water multiple times to get rid of the musty smell. Once I started sanding the top, I realized about halfway through that I had made a big mistake. The drawers, which I had done previous to this, but don't actually have the footage for considering this all started a year ago, had been real wood, so I assumed the top would be as well. My whole vision relied on the top being real wood because I planned to sand and stain it to match the inside of the drawers. Turns out, the top portion was some sort of laminate. Initially, I was devastated. Not only was the top not real wood, but I had ruined the laminate when sanding. I realized I had to think quickly. I decided to keep the laminate in an attempt to save my vision. I looked up ways to fix it, but nothing really gave me the answers I was looking for. So I moved on to the painting process. Originally, the plan was to sand the entire dresser and then paint. However, by this point my dreams were crashing down, and I had no idea how this dresser would turn out. So instead of spending more time and effort, I pivoted to painting over the existing paint. I debated whether or not to try and remove the paint beforehand with a paint remover, but I had already done that with the drawers, and that took way too much time. I went ahead and filled all the cracks and chips with a paint filler I bought for a few dollars at Walmart. It was more difficult than I thought it would be because the consistency was awful, but I think it turned out okay after I sanded out with a 180 grit sandpaper. After that, I covered the entire base with a color called Pegasus in Eggshell by Pittsburgh that I got from Menards. I probably should have used primer because it took 3 layers of this thick premium oil base paint to cover the teal. After that dried, I applied a water-based top coat in Satin by Behr. I believe I got that at Home Depot. While that dried, I found a way to preserve the laminate and fix my situation. I started out by using a furniture marker to try and fix the areas that I destroyed with my sander. This did not work and made it look worse. You probably couldn't tell in the video, but the entire top looked dusty because I accidentally took the shine off, and the edges were showing the base of the laminate. I decided to scratch the furniture marker idea. It drew more attention to the problem than fixing it. I painted a white strip on the back to cover the worst of it. I then added the same top coat that I used for the base. After that dried, I did a couple more coats because the laminate wasn't dispersing evenly. Once it looked decent, I sprayed an acrylic matte protectant over the top. This pulled everything together and made it look so much better. Next, I moved on to the inside of the drawers. The entire point of redoing this dresser was so that I could have the dresser of my dreams without spending a fortune. This is what the inside looked before, and this is what it looks like now. I absolutely love this wallpaper that I got at Dollar Tree. It took forever to get all of the drawers done because none of the stores in my area had them in stock. Originally, I was going to do all of the drawers in this wallpaper, but I'm so glad I waited for the green leaves. If you didn't know, I'm kind of in my plant mom era, so this added a lot of personality to the flip. Once that was accomplished, I started to attach all of the hardware again. If you look up close, you can see the previous owners drenched the hardware in spray paint, so it dried pretty wonky. Honestly, I don't mind it all that much. I've convinced myself that the original color gives it a bit of character. I was almost done with the entire project when I realized that I had hit yet another roadblock. When I first picked up this dresser, I had plans to buy new hardware. However, I had forgotten that the dresser was originally missing one of the handles, as you can see in the first picture.
It was at this moment that he knew.
For a solid hour, I tore my house apart thinking that I had lost the handle somewhere along this year-long journey. At this point, I was exhausted and ready for it all to end. In an attempt to keep my sanity, I got out my drill and put a hole in the center. I filled the other 2 holes with the wood filler, painted over it, and called it a day. Now I have a fully functional dresser. And hey, if you see the indent of the 2 previous holes, no you don't. Now for the reveal. So this is what we started with a year ago. And this is what we ended up with. And oh my gosh, dude, I want to cry. I honestly had moments when I thought this project would break me, but it ended up making me love furniture flipping so much more. I already have plans to do more pieces in the near future. I love this piece and I'm so proud of how it turned out. Yes, there are flaws, but you have to consider that this was my first project, so there were bound to be some missteps. Also, I showed this to my therapist and she told me that it looks professional, so that's all the outside validation I need.
I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and it's probably a lot longer than it needs to be, but hey, I had fun. Let me know in the comments below if you have ever flipped anything or plan to. I really want to see other people's work and take inspiration, and yeah, so that's the video. Alright, bye! Bye! Say bye, cameraman. Are you in the frame? Bye, cameraman. Bye! Okay, we're good. Okay. Shut it off!
Yeah.